In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, I will be answering questions from my inbox. It's not a Monday, but I guess this is Mailbag Monday on a Thursday. I have a ton of questions. I have not done this in a while, and I got some pretty good questions that people are asking me about my thoughts on certain players, how I rank them in the 2024 NBA Draft. And one of the questions is, have I seen Matas and Rob Holland play? And which player do I like the most? So find out my answer. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, the director scouting for NBA Big Board and the founder of NBA Draft Junkies. It is Thursday, August 10th, and even though this is the dead period, there's been quite a bit of basketball going on. A lot of the colleges are on overseas tours, and sometimes that footage or even the box scores are pretty difficult to find, so you have to go on social media and watch clips. That's going on. You got the World Cup friendly. So even though it is August, there is basketball. And then I've been hearing about there are teams that are going to be in LA playing in the Rico Hines runs at UCLA. I've been invited to go out there because the G League Ignite team is playing this week. It's already Thursday, so it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But man, that would be pretty fun to watch because I am 100% intrigued by this Ignite team and how they're going to fit all the pieces together because they just have a lot of talent. All right, let's get into the questions. The first question is, and I mentioned it in the opening, have you seen Matas, Bazulis, and Ron Holland play? They put Rob in person. Who do you like better? That's a very interesting question. And to be honest with you, right now, I'm just torn. I think Matas I think he's more skilled offensively. I mean, he's 6'11", can handle. I think he has good court vision. I think he's a good shooter as far as being able to shoot off the catch. I think he can shoot off the dribble. He can shoot on the move. I think he is a really gifted offensive player. I'd say he probably has more concerns. And again, my answer may flip-flop depending on the day. Some days I feel like he has more concerns because he is so thin. He's 6'11", 195, and I think that he kind of shies away from physicality from time to time. He wasn't a really good finisher at the rim on the high school level, and that was, in my opinion, in large part due to his lack of physical strength. And so playing for the Ignite next year, the G League is definitely going to be more physical than high school basketball, even more physical than college basketball. So I do think that he may struggle there, but he, like I said, is a gifted offensive player. He's a pretty good shot blocker, but at his size, at 6'11", 6'10", I guess I don't have the official height, what he can do with the ball is intriguing. Now, even though I think that he has good court vision and instincts, I don't think he's a really good decision maker. He had more turnovers than assists in high school, and so I'm kind of interested in finding out his exact role. Are we going to see him play with the ball in his hands? Is he going to be used specifically as a spot-up shooter? And then as far as Ron may be the safer pick because he's such a menace on the defensive end. I mean, his energy, effort, and motor just stands out. He's a winner. He wins everywhere he goes. The concern with Ron is the outside shooting. And even though it's interesting. I think Matas may have more ability to play as like a point forward in a sense. And this may sound weird. But Ron is a better decision maker. He's a quick decision maker. He's a good passer. But I think he's more so of a ball mover than upside as a playmaker. And I could be totally wrong here. I actually had someone tell me that they think Ron could be like a Draymond Green type. Now, originally I didn't see it, but he believes that Ron has the foundation to where he can play that role. not necessarily as like a primary, but someone that can initiate the offense from time to time because he is such a good decision maker, and he would be a really good ball mover in the NBA. Ron's concerns are, again, the outside shooting. I would like to see if he can develop into a more consistent outside shooter. The flashes are there, but as far as like the range, and then if Ron can add a little bit of stuff to his game off the dribble. He can score off the dribbles, but it's more so like quick, straight line drives. I mean, Ron doesn't play around with the ball. He's not someone that just kind of dances around. He makes quick decisions, and he gives you a move and go, which is totally fine. But if he can add a little bit of more craft and isolation game off the dribble, then he could be really special. I mean, he's already a special defender. So that's a long-winded answer to your question, and the answer is, who do I like better? It just depends on the day of the week. Some days it's Matas. Some days I may think that he has the higher ceiling, and then there's days where I feel like Ron is the safest pick. But right now, if I had to choose between the two, and the answer could change tomorrow, I think I may go with Ron just because of his versatility as a defender. Again, Matas is a good shot blocker, but I think Ron is more ready to contribute and help right away. But then again, if Matas is knocking down open shots, at the minimum, he has a floor as a 6'11 floor spacer that can do little things with the ball. So I guess that's not a direct answer to your question. So I may go with Ron right now because of the defense, and I think he's more able to contribute on the defensive end. But I will say that I believe Matas may have a higher ceiling if he maxes out and reaches all of his potential. All right, the next question is, did you see Isaiah Collier today versus the team from Serbia? What were your thoughts? Can he be a number one pick? Now, I did not see the game. I watched bits and pieces of it. I was actually in the gym. I have an interview coming up with a player that was selected in the top 10 of the NBA draft. So I was in the gym watching him play. So look out for that. And I won't say the name because I want to surprise you, but that should be coming up. So I was in the gym watching him when USC, can't get those two schools mixed up. When USC was playing Mega, the Serbian powerhouse that is known for producing NBA talent. Nikola Jokic is from that program. So I saw bits and pieces of the game, but I did watch the highlights, and it looked easy for Isaiah Collier. Isaiah Collier is a 6'4", 205-pound guard. I guess I got to do a better job of giving details about the player, but he's 6'4", 205-pound guard, freshman from USC, big guard, is a really gifted passer. He is arguably the best passer and playmaker in this class. I mean, of course, Ryan Nembhard's in that area. Taron Armstrong could be in consideration. But as far as guys that are going to be in that lottery discussion, I think it's Isaiah Collier. And he's a great live dribble passer, good vision. He has pace, just has a natural feel and instincts for the game. And watching the highlights, I mean, he made it look easy. He got to his spots when he wanted to. He blew by defenders. I love his pace. Even in transition, he's like moving fast, but at the same time, he's so controlled when he's moving fast, which is just a natural gift. I didn't see him make a single jumper. I did not see him make a single jump shot, which is the biggest area of concern. I had a scout tell me that they don't think that he's going to shoot 30% from three this year, maybe even 30% on jumpers, period. So that's the concern on him. If he can show flashes as a shooter, as a pull-up shooter, as a shooter off the catch, if the outside shooting improves drastically, then I do think that there is a chance. We don't often see guys that are like below the rim finishers. Now, he's not like super below the rim. He can't dunk, but he's not a crazy, bouncy, vertical athlete. Although I saw a scouting report listed him as a great athlete. I mean, he's not Scoot Henderson by any means. He's not Amin Thompson. He's not making plays like that above the rim. I think he's more so of a below the rim finisher. And, you know, how often do we see a guy that is a below the rim finisher at point guard be the number one pick if he doesn't have like elite size like a Cade Cunningham or a Luka Doncic, even though Luka didn't go number one? I think that is a chance. I mean, it is a wide open draft. I don't think there's anybody that we can say right now is the odds-on favorite, just because depending on which draft site or which scout you talk to, you can get 4 different names, maybe 5. He's in the discussion, but again, I think it's all going to depend on how well he shoots the ball from deep. All right, when we return, I'm going to answer a question about Zaccharie Risacher, a French prospect who some people believe could be a top 5 pick. I have my doubts on that, but I will answer my question on Zaccharie Risacher. But before that, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. Football season is about to kick off, and with FanDuel, you have an opportunity to win all season long. Because right now, when you pick a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time that team wins. For me, I'm going with the Bengals. But just pick a team, Bengals, Cowboys, whoever, and you get bonus bets every time they win. And you can use your bonus bets on the spreads, player props, overs, unders, and more. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, and you can start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Once again, big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. And in this episode, I am answering questions from my inbox. So it's a mailbag Monday, but on a Thursday. I have so many questions, I'm probably going to have to break this up into a 2-part series. All right, the last question, or the question that I left off on, I didn't get a chance to answer, that I teased, was about Zaccharie Risacher. Zaccharie Risacher is someone that I first did a podcast, or mentioned him in a podcast, probably around this time 2 years ago. And I was very intrigued with his talent. He has size, he can handle the ball, he shows flashes of being able to shoot, good athlete. He is everything you look for in a versatile wing that fits the modern NBA. There's so many things that he does well. Now, I've seen one site have him as the #1 pick. I've seen some sites have him as top 5. I can't go there right now. I have him as a late first round pick, and it's not because of his talent. I think he's one of the more naturally talented players in this draft. I've been watching him for years. I've had a chance to watch him play live multiple times, and I just have concerns about the mentality as far as him maximizing his talent and dominating and really enforcing his will on games. Now, I've seen him play in games where his team was far better than their opponents, and you see everything. But then I've seen games where it's a competitive game and guys are really in his face and making him work. And I've seen him like totally disappear. I've seen him have games where he was like 0 for 10. I've seen him really, really struggle in competitive environments. So the talent is there, but I wonder about the competitive fire, the aggression, the nature. I think sometimes he's really caught up in trying to play the right way, which is totally fine. I totally get it. You want to play the right way. That's how he's been developed to play. Comes from great pedigree. His dad played professionally. But sometimes when he's playing the right way all the time, he's bailing the defense out. He's making it easy to defend because he's not aggressive. He's not using his natural gifts and his talents to score 20 points or be aggressive and get to the foul line. So I look at, I'll just use Isaiah Collier, for example, and maybe it's obviously it's a different mentality, but Collier is a guy that you know is going to impact games because he is going to get to the line, he's going to foul guys out, he's going to be aggressive, get downhill, and he's going to make plays. Risacher is a guy that I think lets defenses off the hook because he's not always aggressive and assertive. So if he shows that this year, like a newfound mentality, then I could see him being a lottery pick. But if he's the same person, I think he could easily fall. Now, I did have a little bit of concerns about City Sissoko in the same way, and I thought City did a good job of turning the corner and being aggressive. And I've mentioned it at length plenty of times throughout the 23 draft cycle that something clicked for City. Now, if something clicks for Zaccharie, then I think, again, there is a chance that he could be a high pick. But right now, I'm a little bit lower on him than the consensus, and maybe because I feel like I've actually watched him play in person multiple times. It's not just watching full games on film or just watching highlights. Because if you just watch the highlights, if you go to Synergy and you just pull up his offensive clips, you're going to be intrigued by everything that he does. But if you watch him play, there's just too many games where he does not have an impact, in my opinion. All right, the next question is about Aaron Bradshaw. It says, why are you so high on Aaron Bradshaw, and are you worried about the foot injury? I'm high on Aaron Bradshaw, 7-footer, freshman from Kentucky, who's actually teammates with DeJuan Wagner at Camden. I'm high on Bradshaw because I love the size. I think he can be your vertical lob threat. He can be your shot blocker, rebounder. But I'm intrigued by the outside shooting touch. I think that if he continues to grow as a shooter, then he can be like your pick and pop guy that can space the floor, protect the rim, and be a vertical lob threat. I think he's a good athlete. I think he has the tools. And there's quite a few centers in this class that I feel like have the tools to be really, really good centers. Of course, like with most big men, some are gentle giants, some are tough and physical, but they may lack the skill set of the modern NBA. But I'm just highly intrigued by Aaron Bradshaw's promise as a inside-outside scoring threat as a 7-footer. Now, the foot injury, especially with bigs, it is a little scary and concerning. I don't have any updates on his status. I imagine that probably is going to slow him down some this year, at least in the early parts of the season. So we may not get a chance to see the best of Aaron Bradshaw this year, which, the Kentucky situation is pretty interesting now because they have 4 bigs they have a good big man rotation with 4 bigs, which is pretty incredible because about 6 weeks ago, Kentucky barely even had enough players to field a team. So it wouldn't surprise me if he has a year where he, averages maybe 10 points and 6 rebounds and a block and shoots in the mid-30s from 3. I think if he does that and just shows the flashes, he could be a lottery pick. But if it's a situation where they bring him along slowly and he ends up falling a little bit outside of the rotation because they have 3 other bigs, and I think that could definitely hurt his draft stock. But as of now, I have him as a lottery pick. All right, when we return, I have a few more questions that I want to answer. You know what? This is just going to have to be a 2-part series because there are just too many good questions that I want to talk about and that I think you, the listener, may want the answers to. And the next question is about another big man, Kel'el Ware. And the question is, can Kel'el Ware be the first big man off the board in the 2024 NBA Draft? Stay tuned and you will find out my answer on where I think Kel'el Ware will end up in next year's draft. Stay tuned. All right, last segment. Again, this is going to have to be an episode that I break up into 2 parts. And the question is, who will be the first big man off the board? Do you think there's a world where Kel'el Ware passes Donovan Clingan? I think it is a possibility. I don't think that it will happen. I think that Ware is very intriguing with his skill set, with his size. He's a 7-footer who played his freshman year at Oregon, which I thought was a odd fit in the beginning. Then he transfers to Indiana, where he's going to replace Trace Jackson Davis. He's going to play with Mike Woodson, who runs I want to call it a pro-style offense, but I guess they don't really shoot a lot of threes. But I think that if he maximizes his talent and he gets the motor revved up, I do think there's a chance where Kel'el Ware could be the first big man off the board. I do not think it happens. I think there are real concerns with the motor. It doesn't always run hot. I think with Clingan, you know what you're getting out of Clingan every single night. You're getting rebounding, you're getting interior defense, you're getting a guy that is going to plug the middle, who's going to alter shots, who is going to score, but he's going to score in an old school fashion in a sense, not necessarily with post-ups, but whether it's offensive rebounds, lobs, scoring off dump-offs. Donovan Clingan may score more, if not the same amount of points as Kel'el Ware on a much higher efficiency. Ware does have more of the modern day skill set that you want out of a 5. I mean, he's fluid, he's agile, he shows promise as a shooter. Even though he shot 30% from 3, definitely has more range than Donovan Clingan. Good athlete. But again, I just have doubts and some concerns about the motor, how hard he plays. Is he someone that his motor is going to be revved up if he's getting a bunch of touches? Or is he someone that if he goes 6, 7, 8, 9 possessions without getting a touch, is it going to be obvious in his body language and his energy that he's not feeling the situation? But again, if he's playing hard and he shows some he had some very good moments, I should say, early in the season at Oregon. He fell out the rotation probably around January, if I'm not mistaken. He had some pretty good games at the beginning of the season, showed the flashes. But then, for whatever reasons, he just fell out of favor, was out of the rotation. And so I can see a situation where if he's not playing hard, then maybe he does fall out the rotation at Indiana. I mean, he has a wide range. Like, I can see if someone believes that he could be a top 5 pick, I can totally get why they feel that way. And if there's someone that thinks he falls to the back half of the first round and the team is just going to take a gamble on him because of the talent and the upside, I can see that also. So he's going to be one of the players that I'll be paying a lot of attention to this season. And maybe he is a guy that a change of scenery does wonders for his NBA draft stock. I still think that he would have been drafted this year if he came out of Oregon, just because the talent and upside is just there. All right, the next question is about Bronny James. And the question is, does Bronny James play this year? And I'm not in position to answer that. I have no idea what is going on. I just think that the James family needs to be as safe and as cautious as they can be. I mean, I'm seeing like some of the wild rumors floating around social media saying it has to do with the COVID vaccine and so on. I actually had a friend of mine tell me that he passed out with cardiac arrest. He said it happened a couple of times, but he was in his late 30s on the basketball court, which, I mean, if it happens to me one time, I think I'm done playing. But he said he was just so dehydrated that it played a role in him passing out. And that was just his story. So I don't know if that is Bronny's situation. Again, I don't have a lot of details. Obviously, the family is kind of keeping everything pretty tight to the vest. So I don't know. I don't know if he plays. If I had to make a bet, I would assume that you just use this as a redshirt year, make sure everything is fine, and then just resume a year later. That would be my suggestion. All right, last question, and it is Elliot Cadeau the real deal? Elliot Cadeau is a freshman at North Carolina. He's someone that I've had a chance to watch live a couple times. I saw him at Basketball Without Borders All-Star Weekend last February. And then I saw him play this past summer, playing in the EYBL. He reclassified up. He's definitely exciting. He is definitely one of the more exciting players in this class. Little small, doesn't have the ideal positional size for a point guard because he's small, but he's a very good athlete. He is a very good athlete that makes plays above the rim as a 6-footer. Can handle, quick first step. Is a good passer. I mean, lightning fast. very confident. Put up big numbers playing for Sweden last summer. I think his mom is Swedish, but he is from the New York, New Jersey area. I think Seth Trimble is really good at North Carolina too, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I've seen some mock drafts have him as a top 10 pick. There's some scouts that believe that he could be a top 10 pick and could be the best point guard in this class. Then there's some that are concerned about the size and can he defend NBA players because he doesn't have ideal size. But I do think he is the real deal. I do think that he will be one of the more exciting players more exciting players in the country and one of the more exciting players in this freshman class. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him. But yeah, man, I think he is the real deal. Wherever he's played, I feel like I don't want to say dominated, but he's always been one of the better players on the floor, and I think that will be the case this year. All right, well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast. I have quite a few questions that I did not get a chance to answer, so guess what? I'm going to have to do it again in a part 2. Once again, it's Rafael Barlowe, and you are listening to the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, and I am